Good evening, good evening. I want to welcome everyone to my platform today. I am your facilitator and host today. My name is Vicki Johnson. I am a mental health specialist and I want to elaborate on self-blame and elaborate on emotional attachment. I know I spoke on it yesterday, but I want to give thanks to everyone who is responding so well on self-blame. We all have experienced that and really have dealt with self-blame and emotional attachments. So I want to pick it up a little bit more and elaborate on it today, and I promise you I won't be before you long. So thank y'all once again, and you always welcome to share all of my videos that I post here on Facebook and on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. So I want to elaborate on the self-blame today and emotional attachments. you know, Giving thanks on the self-blame. We need to give thanks and move on from self-blame and emotional attachments, because sometimes we can beat ourselves up so that it's hard to let go, and we won't let go. Most of us, sometimes we carry the self-blame and the emotional attachment. We drag it around with us for years and years and years, and not knowing that if we don't seek help or get help, not knowing that it's wearing and tearing our bodies down, it's making us sick, and most of our illness comes from the gut. That's where all the illness starts in our bodies. And we carry that inside the gut for so many years, not knowing, until we sit down with a therapist or a counselor and we have the talk, and we elaborate on some things, or think back on some things, on what we have experienced throughout the years, throughout our lifetime, and we begin to think about some of these things that we carried around maybe in our childhood, and we were still carrying it around and dragging it around, and not letting the little girl out or the little boy out inside of us. So when we sit down and really talk things over with a therapist or a counselor or a friend or whoever it may be, sometimes we have to talk to our doctors, and we realize that we are still carrying some of this guilt, this shame around. We're carrying emotional attachment around. We're carrying this self-blame around, and not really realizing how it has impacted our life, and how we have been carrying this extra baggage around, and we're wondering, hey, what is wrong with us? What's wrong with me? Why do I feel this way? Why do I act like this all the time? And you begin to question yourself. So we need to let it go. And just saying letting it go, that means it's not going to be easy. We're going to have to put some work in. We're going to really have to make sure and make up in your mind, am I really ready to let this go? Am I really ready to put in the work? Whatever it takes, am I really ready to free myself, to free my spirit? And I always refer back to me. I spoke on yesterday how I was emotional attached to my ex-spouse, and it was hard for me to let go. It was hard for me to get adjusted to a new lifestyle without the emotional attachment. So the work I had to put in It did not come easy, but you can do it. It's going to take the work. It's going to take hard work. It's going to take dedication. It's going to take changing your mind, having a different mindset, having a different outlook on life, and knowing that you have to change you for the better. So you have to put in the work. Also, sometimes grief may be involved in a lot of situations. Sometimes we grieve about losing a loved one or someone close to us. We grieve about so many things, you know. We can grieve. I knew this person years ago that they was grieving because they had stayed on this job for, I think it was like 25 or 30 years. And all of a sudden, the boss let this person go. And that person, he didn't know how to adapt to not being on that job. He didn't have no future plans. He never did think about what if, because I did mention the what if yesterday. And it almost took him out, because he didn't have no plans. His life revolved around that. That's all he knew. He didn't have no exit plan, no escape plan, no kind of plan whatsoever. But one day when he walked in, he no longer had a job. No longer had a job, no longer had a plan. He was emotional attached to a job, which led him to grief. He almost, just suffered inside. He was grieving inside, and he would not let it go until he almost killed himself, grieving. And I did mention one time suffering in silence. I did a video on suffering in silence. He was one of the persons that he was suffering with grief inside and didn't know how to let go. Didn't know how to seek for help and keep it moving and move on to something else because he didn't have a plan. So sometimes grief can be a stopping ground for some of us. And we really don't know, or we're not aware of, sometimes grief is the major problem here. Because we experience grief in so many different ways. And we also handle grief in so many different ways. So grief can sometimes involve loss, and you're not in control of anything. And then your beliefs is what you believe in, you know. So your grief can get out of control and you don't have a plan. So if you don't have a plan, then what are you believing in? How can you stop this emotional attachment that comes with grief? How can you stop the emotional blame that comes with grief? How can you stop the self-blame that comes with emotional grief? So these are some of the things that you want to examine. Examine yourself. Talk to yourself. You don't have to talk out loud, but really think about. I teach this class called Stop Thinking, and really think about the thoughts that you are thinking about. And if they are negative thoughts, then you want to stop those thoughts. But think about something positive. Think about something that can help you or enhance your situation. Think about some things that can push you forward instead of pushing you backwards. So when those negative thoughts begin to bundle up or bobble in your mind, stop it. So grief is one of them because it makes you feel like you're not in control. It makes you feel like you're inescapable. You can't get out of that situation. So it begins to build and stack and build and stack and build and stack and build and stack until it gets up so far that some people explode simply because they did not stop it. They did not get any help. They didn't seek for professional help. They didn't seek to talk to nobody. They didn't have a support system. They didn't have support buddies. The list will go on and on. So you want to get a hold and be in control of your situation. You want to be in control because it can take over. The anger can set in. The grief can set in. The self-blame, the emotional attachment. It can all bundle up in one. And the anger can build against oneself. So the emotional bonds that we have from other people or with other people can cause existential mental health situations or mental health problems that we deal with on a daily basis. We have to know how to stop the self-blame, how to stop the emotional attachments. But we want to heal from the crown of our head to the sole of our feet. We want to heal physically. We want to heal spiritually. We want to heal naturally. We want to heal emotionally. But we have to put in the work. Putting in the work is seeking for help. And before we can seek help, we have to make sure, are we ready? Are we really ready to surrender the self-blame? Are we really ready to surrender the emotional attachments? Because one thing that I have learned in this journey, we are so easily as humans to say we're ready. And then when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, or when it gets down to the point to let it go, some of us, it's hard to let go, and we change our mind. Well, maybe, I will give him another chance. And I spoke about a couple of weeks ago, this time, I won't do this. This time, I'm going to let it go. I said, this is my last time that I will do, and you fill in the blank. I have a video out there saying, this is my last time. And sometimes we always renege on our last time, saying this is our last time. But we go back and repeat the same thing over and over and over and over until we get tired and really say, this is our last time. So I'm asking you today, is it really your last time? Are you really ready for the challenge? Are you really ready to change your mind? Are you really ready to put in the work? Are you really ready to become that new you? that person that is free in every area, in their mind, in their bodies, their soul, their spirit, their emotional attachments. Are you ready this time to really let go? Just think about it. Are you ready to put in the work? Are you ready to get healed? And you want that healing all over. You want to be healed in your mind, body, and soul and spirit. You want to be healed in the relationships and the attachments that you come in agreement with. Emotional attachments. And it doesn't have to be in a relationship. It can be people, places, or things. Sometimes the addiction was setting in to where it's hard to let go. You can be addicted to people. You can be addicted to food. You can be addicted to places. If you catch yourself doing the same thing over and over and over, besides eating different foods, you can eat yourself to death. That's an addiction that you just have to have food. Just like you have to have drugs and alcohol. Some people are addicted and they feel like if they stop, they would die. Well, that's how it is with relationships and other things that we become attached to. It becomes our feel-good, our addiction. Because when we're in our addiction or emotional attachments, which is addiction to me, it's hard to let it go. And when you let it go, you don't feel good. Everything is discombobulated. Everything is all out of place. But are you ready to put in the work? Because when you put in the work, nothing feels good while you in the process of getting rid of the toxic situations, the toxic detachments. It doesn't feel good. But once you go through the motions and keep going through the motions, and soon you start feeling better every day, each day, every day. When I was going through, it didn't feel good, but I kept pressing and I kept moving forward and moving forward. And every day, I began to feel better. I began to say to myself, self, if you can only keep pushing to the end of the tunnel, if you can only keep pushing to the finish line, and I guaranteed you, self, when you get to the finish line, you will feel better. When you get through to the end of the tunnel, you will feel better because you made it through. You made it out. You made it to that finish line. So I'm asking you today, will you keep pushing even when it doesn't feel good? Will you keep pushing when you don't feel like pushing? Will you push until you won't give up, but keep pushing? Thank y'all so much for watching, and I hope this will help someone. Remember to subscribe below on YouTube, share and like my page, and pass it on, because you never know who might need this and who's listening to this and looking at me. You're going to be all right, sis. You can make it. You're going to be all right. It's okay. Just keep pushing and don't give up. I'll see you tomorrow. Until next time, have a blessed day, and thank you for being part of my platform on today. Bye-bye.